what can you do when you have a downturn? Is there something that you are an expert at that you could bring those efforts and that institutional knowledge to bear on this crisis? So I hope that through talking to yourself and others, we can inspire anybody to do what they can. Not everybody has 3D printers sitting at their disposal, but everybody has something. And so the question is, with that challenge to react, what can you do and where can you take it?
All right, so today we're here with Eric Hayes, the Chief Marketing Officer for Superfeet, and we're going to talk a little bit about how Superfeet is responding to this emergency in our community and kind of rolling up their sleeves and getting in here. For people who don't know what Superfeet is or what you do normally outside of a time of crisis, you want to give people a little bit of a snapshot of who Superfeet is and what you guys do?
You bet, Josh. Thanks. Superfeet's a 43-year-old company here in Whatcom County. We've been working here. We started in Blaine in 1977 and then moved to our current facility about 8 years ago in Ferndale. And Superfeet, day in and day out, we make products that feature shape underneath people's feet to be able to provide them with the best comfort, performance, and pain relief possible. We're an ESOP company, so for anybody who doesn't know what that means that we are 100% owned by our employees. And so when we talk about being in and from Whatcom, we talk about not only living here, working here, but also owning here. And so it's a pretty special organization from that standpoint. For 43 years, we've established who we are via our vision, our mission, our culture, and our values. And so as we kind of talk about what our response is to our pandemic that's going on here, you'll hear me talk about those things a lot. It provides a really solid backdrop or a platform for us to be able to frame how we respond to something like this. It frames everything that we do. And so it's just one more natural extension of that.
Yeah, so let's dive into that. What is the response that you guys have been able to do? And what has the impact of COVID-19 and the outbreak of the virus in our community? How has that impacted Superfeet's operations?
So we think employee first always, as both owners and ourselves. We pride ourselves on one of our brand truths, which is people first. And so when we think about it, we think about what's happening to our Superfeet family, what's happening to our Whatcom community, what's happened to our country at large. And about 2 weeks ago now, when we saw kind of the writing on the wall and what was happening and the need to stop the prevention, we moved all non-essential personnel out of the building to try to spread it out. At that time, if you remember, there was no stay-at-home order or anything. It was something that we were doing proactively to try to do what we could to protect our employee base and to protect the community, and really to keep our business operational. Our operations team needs to be in the building. Keep in mind, we manufacture and assemble our products in Ferndale, and then we ship them out globally from Ferndale. So that, in order for that to happen, we have to have a team on the ground in the warehouse. And we wanted to protect that team as much as possible by getting as many of the non-essential germs out of the building. And so that included things like sales and marketing and finance. Anything that did not have to be at that facility, we got out. And I'm super proud to say that from a business operations standpoint, we flowed seamlessly. It was one of those moments where you prepare for the worst and you kind of hope for the best, and we got the best, which is fantastic from a Superfeet perspective. Fast forward a little bit, and some pretty dramatic things started happening in the marketplace. You have retailers closing their doors to try to do the same thing we were doing, which was help prevent the spread. Obviously, consumers start going into a little bit of lockdown, right? They're not spending money on a lot of extra things that maybe they once did. And so that reduces the demand. One of the commitments that we made to our employees was that we would do everything possible to keep them our priority and to keep them employed and to keep the economics flowing as much as we could through Superfeet. And so we've taken really active steps to deliver on all those things. I'm really proud to say that Superfeet responds a little bit differently than maybe some of the corporations you see in the news. That we truly live people first, and we've been able to do that through this
Yeah,
process.
that's encouraging to hear that kind of response from your team. What's happening right now at Superfeet? I mean, with this pivot that you guys have had to do, what opportunities have you seen, and where have you seen kind of opportunities to step in and help alleviate some of these things that are happening in our community?
Yeah, so anytime there's a downturn in supply, you have excess capacity, right? And so we've got folks because of our commitment to them that uh, are currently employed with less to do than they had to do yesterday. And so we started saying, okay, product development, what could we do to pitch in? Operations, what could we do to utilize our expertise there? We saw this huge opportunity with our 3D printing facility sitting there, and we thought, with everything that's going on, with the need for personal protective equipment for our hospitals, with the attempts to flatten the curve and to make sure that it didn't have to get even flatter because we started losing healthcare professionals to coronavirus, we thought we could use those things by opening up that capacity to those healthcare providers for them to tell us what they needed. They've responded tremendously well with need. To a degree, it's terrifying that they need our help. However, when they do, we're thrilled to be able to step in. So they've stepped in with requests for ventilator parts, with valves, with simple things like hose connectors that just break in normal use that we can step in and be able to provide. And then one of the most exciting things that we've gotten requests really from all across the country on are a particular type of protective equipment called a PAPR hood. That PAPR hood, it provides positive air pressure and positive airflow so that you wear the hood, it blows air into that hood through a filter. It allows then the doctor or nurse or healthcare practitioner to be able to only breathe that clean air because they're no longer respirating anything from outside that's not been filtered. We were able to jump in and 3D print a port that actually connects to the hose that comes from that filter. And then partner with a local company who can sew the hoods themselves to be able to provide something that the doctors and nurses were just in short supply of. And so we're in the middle of development on that right now. It's not something we've started shipping, but we hope to very soon to be able to kind of add to that fight and keep them in the fight really in the small way that we can.
Yeah, and my understanding is that this is a very local response too. You've been working with Peace Health and the doctors there and their teams and trying to come up with how can we support, our immediate community. Do you have plans sort of, and maybe you could talk about that process and what that was like, but what does the future look like in the next couple of weeks as you're able to spin up these processes and start getting these parts out?
This is a fast moving thing, right? We started last Wednesday. So really we could go today, which is crazy to think about. We put out the call. We started having some just initial conversations with folks that we know because we're local. We know what's happening in our community. We said, hey, is this something that we could help with? They gave us some ideas. We spun up our product development team and our operations team and just started working the problem. And we worked all the way through the weekend. We got our first prototype yesterday morning. Back through a partnership with the local sewing company and our 3D printing, and then working with these healthcare providers. That first prototype is now being evaluated. We're tweaking it to make sure that it's going to be safe and effective and that we can make it in mass quantities that are needed. We've also now put out the call with those initial prototypes to not just our local community, who we really hope we can serve, but with our excess capacity, because now we know how many of these things we can make. It's expanding really across the country for us to be able to have that opportunity. And then we put out that press release yesterday or 2 days ago now to even get more in. And we set up a contact line essentially for doctors and hospitals and other healthcare providers to be able to come to us with what those needs are. So we've actually now started to expand what we're looking at that can be 3D printed to be able to respond to those needs. Our capacity will fill up. And so one of the things we're really trying to do with this program, and the reason that we're putting out press, is to challenge others to say, what can you do when you have a downturn? Is there something that you are an expert at that you could bring those efforts and that institutional knowledge to bear on this crisis. So I hope that through talking to yourself and others, we can inspire anybody to do what they can. Not everybody has 3D printers sitting at their disposal, but everybody has something. And so the question is, with that challenge to react, what can you do and where can you take it? We're all living here, and we're all living this together. We're obviously always going to care about local community first. That's just in our DNA. But our local community these days is a lot smaller, and we've seen that with a disease that has been transmitted across the globe in essentially a record and historic amount of time. This is a small world we're living in, and we've got to think bigger than just who's next door in order to solve this.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, or we want people to know kind of about what you guys are working on, what the team is working on, and kind of moving forward?
We'll keep in touch. I mean, it's such a fast-moving exercise. We are developing something new with a new idea literally hour by hour right now. One great resource is one of our partners, Hewlett-Packard. They have resources online that they're making available to everybody that's open source. If you do have 3D printing capabilities, Hewlett-Packard has STL files in CADWork that you can download, that you can actually put into play yourself. We're actually using some of those files ourselves to be able to solve some of the problems here locally. So I would encourage people to check that out. It is not hard to find ways to get involved and to start being a part of the solution.
And I think that's a great place for us to end. I mean, I'm encouraged by seeing just people coming together in the communities, people coming up with innovative solutions to help out in this time of need and time of crisis. And we're going to try to tell more of those stories. But thank you, Eric, for being on the show today, and for everything that you guys are doing out at Superfeet.
You bet. Thanks so much, Josh.